I'm not entirely sure what advanced artificial intelligence means for the future of humanity. On one hand, it could mean we live in an age where machine learning algorithms decide who gets to succeed and who gets to eat. A world where our careers, our thoughts, and even our creative practices are slowly being replaced by artificial intelligence. Nobody's safe, not even artists. We see it happening already, AI-generated art taking first place in art contests. AI art programs such as the cutting-edge Dall-E 2 or Midjourney can create extremely convincing human-like artwork. If even the creative fields, one which we often describe as being a solely human practice, can be replaced by AI, well, as an artist, it makes me afraid of what potentially lies ahead. But on the other hand, we got some pretty good memes out of all this. So, that's what this video is about. OpenAI's Dall-E 2. Typed any prompt into the field, and the AI will spit out a brand new, entirely original image of what you typed. Want a cruise ship made out of gingerbread? Done. A man drinking from a gas pump? Sure. Want a broccoli man with rippling muscles? Hell yeah, brother! God, I can't do voices. When OpenAI were developing Dall-E 2, however, ethical considerations were something they had to pay very, very close attention to. I'm sure you could see the problems that would come with giving such a powerful tool to the public, and OpenAI saw it too. At first, they only gave access to the program to a very small subset of people. Artists, researchers, journalists.
Well, you can't grow concrete.
You can.
Not only that, but they imposed a ton of restrictions on what you could generate, which includes hate, harassment. You know, I'm sure you can read, so I don't think we need to go over this list. Public and personal health, and spam. Although it probably doesn't refer to the canned meat, which I can generate. For the first little while, you can even generate human faces. That's how careful OpenAI was about preventing abuse of their tool. They wanted to make absolutely sure nothing bad would happen at all. But then, if you've seen all the images, you know what's about to happen next. Look out behind you, OpenAI! It's Dall-E Mini, pulling up behind you, and oh no, he's got a steel chair. And that steel chair, open to the public, and no restrictions at all. First, two things you need to know about Dall-E Mini. One, it's now called Crayon, I don't know, anyways. Two, the reason it's now called Crayon is because OpenAI asked them to change its name, because it has no affiliation whatsoever to Dall-E or OpenAI.
This is copyright infringement.
With the exception of explicit imagery, Dall-E Mini basically had no limits on the subject matter you could generate. Trained on unfiltered data from the internet, it allows you to generate pictures of real people, licensed properties, and funny pictures. Both at once, even. And because of its open source nature, it was completely open to the public. Of course, since this was the first program to really gain such a large traction on the internet, there were some issues with generation times at first. And with a fraction of the resources that OpenAI has, the images weren't all that high quality. But aside from that, we got some absolute gems. Ahem. May I present the Weird Dall-E Gallery. Slenderman working at Starbucks. Minions at a cross burning. Among Us cave painting. Get out of my head. Lo-fi nuclear war to relax/study to. Gender reveal 9/11. Duolingo trail cam. Fetus with a gun. And finally, Jeffrey Epstein. But that's not to say it overshadowed OpenAI's Dall-E 2. Dall-E 2 can make some pretty funny images too, and the generation it creates have a lot more detail to them. But even so, because this was the first popular one that people had access to, naturally, people flocked to it. Anyways, don't get confused. Dall-E Mini has nothing to do with Dall-E proper, and that's why Dall-E asked them to change their name. It's not because Dall-E Mini was a mini version of Dall-E 2. Many people made that mistake, me included. Clearly, Dall-E 2 and Dall-E Mini / Cray Ion have different approaches when it comes to the censorship and moderation of prompts. Now, there is a question of whether Dall-E Mini's laissez-faire approach or OpenAI's restrictive approach is better. On one hand, restriction of artistic freedom and expression is a fruitless endeavor. Censoring anything remotely violent from your prompts isn't going to magically erase all the violence that already happens in the world. And not everything that's censored deserves to be prohibited. For example, one of Dall-E's prohibited terms is furry art. Now, furry art isn't inherently fetishistic, and there's plenty of safe, wholesome, oh god, I do not want to say the phrase furry art again. So, art isn't inherently...
They used to be allowed, but we noticed that most prompts asking for furry art was asking for furry porn. Like, almost all.
Well, alright, I guess OpenAI wins this point in the meme contest. Now, this is a funny screenshot, but I would assume that the explicit half of the F art wasn't fed into the algorithm. Anyways, moving on. While Dall-E 2 is no longer limited to just a small group of invitees now, there's now the issue of its new token model where you need to pay to get more generations, though we won't get to that here. With restricting the technology so much, OpenAI is effectively shooting themselves in the foot. Essentially, people not wanting to bother with this just found some other programs to use. I hear Stable Diffusion's pretty good this time of year. But that isn't to say that OpenAI is in the wrong. For starters, there is a point to altering results to correct societal biases from unfiltered training data. Cray Ion also admits to as much in their FAQ. Just as an example of such, there was a whole debacle with Google Images once in that it gave, let's say, questionable results when you search the following terms: 3 white teenagers and 3 black teenagers. I don't think I need to explain the problem here. Clearly, AI isn't infallible. And for the obvious point, there is a case to be made against putting powerful AI image generation tools into the hands of people who may use it for malicious purposes. The dangers of AI image generation being accessible to the open public are many and varied. Perhaps the most obvious danger is that AI image generation can be used to create fake images that can be used to scam people or to spread false information. This is especially dangerous if the AI image generation is used to create realistic images that are difficult to distinguish from real photos. Additionally, AI image generation can be used to create offensive or pornographic images that can be distributed without the consent of the people depicted in them. This could have a devastating impact on the lives of the people involved and could be used to blackmail or harass individuals. Additionally, AI image generation can be used to create propaganda or to disseminate false information about individuals, groups, or events. This could have a detrimental impact on society as a whole by distorting people's perceptions of reality. These concepts don't only apply to image generation too. There's already examples of powerful AI text generators open for anyone to use with little effort required, and at times, it can be impossible to tell if something you read was written by a human or by a computer. In fact, that entire last part I just read out was written entirely by an AI, GPT-3. So, think on that for a minute. In conclusion, yeah, some of the memes that came out of AI generation are pretty good. But enough with the funny image generations, because what I said at the start still holds true. The direction of AI art is kinda scary. I think we can all agree that this technology is going to bring about a lot of change. It has the potential to replace entire creative fields and industries. Imagine a program that could create in-betweens for animations, or one that could create a whole 3D model from turnaround art. I'd like to remain optimistic about the future of AI art, personally. Photography never killed painting, after all, and digital art didn't kill traditional art. But there's still many artists that are concerned with the ethical implications of AI art, or scared that it'll take our jobs. I completely understand this. We can clearly see it already happening. Photography didn't kill painting, sure, but it forced the role of the artist to be drastically altered. Traditional art still has its place, but less so than before, thanks to the advent of digital art. So, I'm not sure what the future holds, exactly, but I can only hope that it's positive, and that the collective creativity of artists is allowed to persist. However, there's one last, very important caveat. Take a look back to every AI art program. Dall-E, Midjourney, Crayon. Sure, some have laxer guidelines than others, and others are more strict with what prompts you can type. But what limitations do all of them share? That's right, you can't generate explicit images. There's one type of artist that's never getting replaced, baby, and that's hentai artists. We'll be the ones to sit back on our golden thrones of degeneracy, knowing that we'll be forever indispensable. We can sleep soundly at night, knowing that our jobs will never be replaced. That's right. The future is looking bright, baby. Oh, as I was editing this video, it turns out that there are AIs that can generate explicit images. Well, shit. I changed my mind. AI art is scary, and I'm terrified of its implications.